you for that. Appreciate it. I guess we'll go to review of minutes from the July 7th work session. And I'll take a motion or any changes. Did you see anything? The only thing I noticed was they spelled my name wrong, but that's okay.
Serious error.
Oh my God.
Serious problem.
Oh, no, where's that?
Red line that.
Add an E into it.
I didn't see anything. Exactly the way I remembered it. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. And that's unanimous. We'll go on to the regular meeting minutes of July 21st. And I'll take a motion or amendments.
I'll make a motion to approve July 21st meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, everybody that approves that, please signify by raising your right hand. My lips aren't moving the same as my mind. Do we have any questions related to military operations online or in the audience? Seeing none, we'll close that session. Before we go on to our first discussion item, I would like to address a couple of things. In our last work session, we had a lot of conversation about our reviewing of plans that come before us and doing a little bit more of a master planning effort in trying to take a look at those. I had some discussions with the Transportation Committee after that meeting, and they've been trying to put together the detailed information of how to do the transportation plan that they're proposing for Beaufort. And it's become obvious, and I guess I realized that after we talked about it, that we're not doing any planning relative to transportation. And so we have missed opportunities already in a lot of places where we have not planned for transportation element. And so we need to stop that and include transportation in our reviews when we do our master plan, look at any developments that we're currently looking at. And the other thing we need to do is we need to involve that transportation member or transportation board in our reviews so that they have an opportunity to help us do those that planning process. So that's pretty much what I wanted to comment on. So when we have our next work session and further reviews of how we're going to accomplish our master planning effort, we'll take that up. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Are you talking about the bus service? Is that,
Yes,
okay, I was gonna say, because we do incorporate all of the transportation and the county in every review. They're part of every review, so.
okay.
But
But
yeah, the bus service.
we are not doing anything,
Yeah, I
related to
don't,
that part
I
of
don't think we are.
transportation for the community. So we definitely need to incorporate that. And I've mentioned that a number of times as we've taken a look at redevelopment of Rebo Road, because we've got to have turnoffs and or ways for buses to pull in and stop um, for ridership. Just as an example, the hospital, there's no way to pull off into the hospital, which would be a major component, able to allow riders to get on and off. It's going to happen out on Rebo Road, because there's no way to get into the hospital as such. So we'll be taking a further look at that.
Yeah, Mike, I just had a question about that. So when you say the Transportation Committee, you're talking about the Beaufort County
Yes.
Transportation Committee? Okay.
Yes.
And I was just wondering, and maybe at a work session, staff could enlighten us more on this, but since City of Beaufort basically owns none of the roads, I'm not sure we're able to ourselves impose conditions about those things, but there may be a way to coordinate with the county on these projects. And so if staff could tell us more about that, like the procedural aspects at our next work session, that would be helpful.
That's true. I think the part that we would still be responsible for, in addition to that, is communities that we're developing, like large apartment complexes, having the ability for a bus to come in and do a stop for pickup and delivery, and so looking at those kind of elements in the future is going to be important. Any other comments about that?
A question of staff. When we were dealing with the complex that was on Allison Road, there was discussion about having ingress and egress off of Rebo. Had that been discussed with the County Transportation Committee? Were they brought into that discussion at all in respect to, and if they were, what was their?
Well, the county traffic and engineering department was part of the whole process, so
They were or were not?
they were.
They were. Okay.
So, I think the bus service, I think, is what he's inferring, and we can add them to our list, so.
But are we talking just about a bus service here, Mike, or are we talking about access and routing and so forth, any kind of vehicles?
Well, they're obviously involved for access from a traffic standpoint, but I'm talking about bringing on a bus service, which we have never had before.
Right.
So it just hasn't been part of our thought process for the previous years, but it needs to be from now on.
So it's the bus service we're focus on. All right.
We'll talk about that as you'd like, but try to add them in the bus. I know you have the contacts, so.
Thank you. So we'll go to our first discussion item, and it'll be ADUs and STRs. And we've done everything, I think, in our power to notify the community of this meeting so that we could get input. I thought we'd probably have more participation than we do this evening. However, I really appreciate you all coming out so that we can hear your comments. We have no preconceived ideas about how we want to modify the codes at this point, but this board felt like it was very important to hear from you all so that we could take those comments and take those into consideration as we move forward to actually addressing the code issues. So to that end, I'm going to open it up after I turn it over to the board for any comments they may have. But I would like y'all to probably keep to around 5 minutes. I think we don't have an overly large group here, so I think we could take 5 minutes if you want to give your comments. I know some of you would like to have longer comments than others, so But before I do that, I'll turn it over to the board if anybody would like to make any comments before we go into this discussion item.
I guess the only thing I would say is, I pointed this out to, a couple of people on the planning commission, at our last work session, I think it was, but, it's rather ironic when I was driving to the last, planning commission, meeting that we had. I believe it was the all day long, all afternoon long work session we had over on Carteret. I was driving down Duke Street and I saw a house that had been listed on the market. The address is 1411 Duke Street. And I don't know what made me do it, but I called my wife and I said, look this up and tell me about this listing. And she read the comments on the listing. And as you might imagine, there was, sales language about how nice a house it was, but the very last sentence in the listing description said that, I'm trying to remember exactly what it said, but it says it's perfect. You can apply for a, use STR ready. You can apply for an STR license as soon as you buy it. And, it was just a little disturbing to me that, people are building homes here with the idea from the very beginning that they're not for people, but they're to establish a short-term rental business. That did cause me some concern.
Any other comments?
I just want to follow up on that. A point that was made during that afternoon work session over at base camp that I thought was a good point was that for a lot of people who are able to buy into this market here in Beaufort, actually buy a house, the subject of short-term rentals and ADUs is very important because it fits into their larger financial plan of being able to retire here in Beaufort. The income that can be generated from either ADUs or even renting a room in your house is something that people factor into their financial planning. And I know that there's a lot of sentiment in the community about certain short-term rentals that have been very, very problematic to neighbors in certain neighborhoods. But I think it's important for us and everybody in the city to approach the subject with an open mind. That is why we are here today with no agenda other than to gather public information. We don't have a sample ordinance we're looking at yet. We're in the information gathering stage. So with all due respect to people who've had serious problems with neighbors with short-term rentals, I think we also have to be respectful of the folks that are doing a good job and able to finance their retirement appropriately here in this area through the use of those short-term rentals.
That's a good point.
Anybody else? Mike? Staff, do you have any comments you'd like to make before we go into public discussion? Okay, with that, then I'm going to open it up to the public. Please state your name and address for the record when you come up, and we'll enjoy hearing from you. Go ahead.
And please fill out the form there on the podium as well.
I will. My name is Frances Ackerman. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I spoke with you before at that afternoon session, so I won't belabor the points I'm going to make. I will start with the fact that I'm one of those retirees who was able to stay in a short-term rental, fall in love with the city, find the neighborhood I want to live in, buy my house, rent it while I sold my house in Spartanburg, so I didn't have an empty house that could deteriorate, and also was generating income. After that, that experience was so nice. My husband and I, for a long time, owned another house and rented it. So I'm not against short-term rentals, and many of the people who had signed our petition in Pigeon Point neighborhood are not against them either. What I would say we are not in favor of is a residential home being bought by an investor or built by an investor with the sole purpose of adding to ADUs and renting all three with no owner on premises. So I think I made that point fairly clearly. I know I gave a copy of this to Mr. Tomey after I spoke with you back in July. Last October, when the first first project of a non-owner occupied home, it was bought by somebody, renovated, actually added onto, so I believe that the ADUs could be made a little larger. When that was built, neighbors realized what the project was. Sometimes until you see it and it hits you in the face, you're not real clear what it is. And we became concerned and wanted to bring it to our concerns to council, planning, and the city manager. So 247 people signed our petition last October, went to all those people. We could have had more, but we thought if we acted promptly, that we may be able to facilitate change before some things got in motion. Our concerns are fairly simple. Our first concern is safety, first and foremost. Our neighborhood, and as I say that, our neighborhood and the neighboring adjacent neighborhood of Higginsonville, both are allowed to have 2 ADUs. I'm not aware of another neighborhood in the city that is allowed to have 2 ADUs on premises. We feel with the size of the streets, the fact that on many of our interior streets, we don't have sidewalks, the number of people who are neighbors of ours who walk, ride, walk their babies, and handicap individuals who are using accessible devices so that they can enjoy the outdoors, that it just isn't safe to have extra on-site parking, which these units would most likely bring to the neighborhood. That and the increased traffic in an older neighborhood that was built a certain way. Now, we do know that change is imperative and change happens, but would like to bring up the point that we've made a great change in Pigeon Point. At one time, it was when I first bought my house, I was told when I was at a very prestigious building store, oh, you're moving in Pigeon Point? That's where drug transactions go down. I hope your investment is protected. Well, now it's very sought after in the city. And because that, we want to protect that. But we're very unique. In our neighborhood, we have college dorms. We have the Barnwell Bluff, which are townhouses. We have several public housing projects. And we have a wonderful, wonderful segment of people who have lived there and rented for years and years, who work every day and can afford to live in those houses. They're not going to be able to afford to live someplace else possibly. We want to protect them also. We don't want investors who want to move in to possibly, they're renting that one property now, see that they can have 3, to force those people out of our neighborhood. They're our neighbors, they're our friends. So number 1, safety. Number 2, protection of the people who live in the neighborhood, the people who have invested their hard, the money they earned for their whole life in a retirement home, but also the people who have lived there for 20, 30, 40 years, who most likely could be displaced by something such as this. Also on safety, we're concerned with the on-street parking, that emergency vehicles would have difficulty getting through the streets. And it is a predominantly aging population. I'm not going to call myself elderly, although I probably qualify for that. We're unique to the city. We're pleasant. We're right close to downtown. We think we're an asset to the city. We don't say ADUs are totally bad. What we asked for in this petition is to limit it to 1. At that time, we also wanted it to be owner on premises, but we're told that that may have some problems with constitutional law. So we left it out as a group, although we wanted it. Since then, we understand that was only if we were trying to change something for something that was already built. We know that property owners in our neighborhood cannot afford to build ADUs. That's what 2 ADUs. They may want to build one for a mother-in-law suite. They may want to have an artist studio, shop, whatever. But they don't, and maybe a little increased income if they could rent one, but they don't have the ability to put the cash forward to build 2 units. That really speaks to what a developer would have the ability to do. So I just ask you to consider all those points. And hopefully we'll keep our city neighborhoods looking like our city neighborhoods do and with the level of safety that we have now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Ackerman.
Mr. Chairman
Yes.
and members of the commission. My name, for the record, is Daniel Blackman. I live at 1010 Duke Street in the Northwest Quadrant. And we have a lot of similarities to Pigeon Point. So I'll try to keep our remarks, and I've also printed out some of the facts to hand out to you. But I want to go back to a little bit of history, which some of you know if you were on the Metropolitan Planning Commission. This ordinance arose out of a study that was commissioned by the Metropolitan Planning Commission. And as a part of that, there was a citizen task force. Between the citizen task force and the Metropolitan Planning Commission, they set a goal of 6% in the Northwest Quadrant. Note that at Old Point, they got 0%. Just think about that for a little bit. The task force was formed and suggested annual monitoring of the capacity of neighborhoods to absorb STRs. And they asked for a reassessment of the situation after a number of years. Well, it's now been since 2017. So it's been 8 years. It's time to reassess and find out what effect did the ordinance have. That study showed that the following parcels at that time, and hopefully the staff can update these facts and figures. So I'm going to make sure that they have a copy of that. I'm sure they have a copy of the Metropolitan Planning Commission minutes, because that's where I found most of these figures. At that time, there were 442 number of parcels in the Northwest Quadrant. That's total parcels, zoned different things, okay? All parcels. Total that were residentially zoned was 258. That's an important figure. So about half were residentially zoned. The total short-term license rentals now, today, the last time I was at the department a couple of weeks ago, was 16. And I was told that that's the maximum, that constituted the 6% goal. Now, the goal was set by the city council and the commission and this task force. They all had different opinions of it. It went from 4% to 6%. So they hashed it out. The number of possible short-term rentals right now could be 38. 38 is a huge increase over 6%. The loophole that is sometimes called a loophole is that vacant and abandoned dwellings can be not under the 6%. Well, the last time I checked, there were at least 22 by the department, at least 22 vacant, dilapidated structures as classified by a survey that was done. Somewhere between 22 and 27, because it increases every day. And these rainstorms haven't helped. If you had 38% out of 258, check my figures, but I got about 8%, which is a 50% increase over the goal. That's my point. Stick to the 6% Stick to the 6%. Don't have exemptions from that. And if you're gonna have exemptions from that, have it come before the planning commission instead of just having the staff make that decision. It adds to your duties, but I think it's something that should be done so that neighbors could be heard, may be notified and be heard about a STR going in their neighborhood. The issues that are not addressed in the ordinance is probably the most important thing, density. At the present time, there's no limit. You can put STR, 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 all down Duke Street. If you're eligible under the other terms, and one of them being dilapidated structure, okay, you renovated your structure, you can apply for the STR, okay? So density is what I would like to see the planning commission figure out. How close do we want STRs? One of my neighbors has an STR next door to her and an STR across the street from her, and she's had issues with them. Another issue or another example is there are at least 3 places that we did a short survey where there are 5 to 8 short-term rentals within one full-time residence. In other words, there's a full-time resident and they can look out their windows and see between 5 and 8 around them of short-term rentals. That's a density problem. Okay. Actually, if I look out my window, I haven't counted around me, but if I look out, I can see 3 on my street to the right. And 2 of them are adjacent. One is one house removed. So density is an issue because otherwise you've got a horizontal motel. They're all short-term rentals in a strip. I don't think that was intended when they set a 6% goal. One thing that I'd like to get clarity from the planning commission, the city, is can the license be transferred? That's an issue that should be ruled on by the city because that comes up a lot in the real estate market. So those are the issues that were brought up. We had a task force at the Northwest Quadrant, and they researched these figures as far as they could. They haven't brought them up to date. They haven't requested it from the department, but I'm requesting it now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Blackman.
I didn't come with any written information. I didn't come with any negatives, but one of the things
Could you state your name, please?
I'm sorry. My name is Henrietta Good. I live at
I'm sorry, could you say
Henrietta
that
who?
again?
Good, Goode.
Okay.
My house is 1308 Duke Street. I can look out the side window and see rentals. I can look out the front and see rentals. I can look out the back and see rentals. I don't have a problem with the fact that there are rentals here. What I'm saying, and Dan was very sure about when he was giving figures, I don't give figures. You know what I'm saying? Because it's coming from the heart. Everybody's talking, like she said, she was here 30 years. I am happy for her. I've been there 70. So, I mean, I don't think the actual folks that are in the community, Northwest Quadrant, is given any notices. I don't feel that we're even considered when it's happening. I really feel like there's nobody on the planning commission, and thank you guys for working it so hard, but there is nobody from within the community. So everybody else is giving input, but not the folks in the community. When it started, I started with the redevelopment commission. It was, how are we gonna, the drugs map, how are we going to get, some life back into the community? I still don't have problems with STUs or AD, whatever she said. My thing is, I just want us to be considered. I've run this race for so long. I got tired. I backed up. So I can't argue with the fact that you guys are there. I still think you need to get somebody from within the area so they can tell you what the area is about. My house has been here since 1910. My sister was born there. The other sister died there, my mother. So it's a family heirloom. It's not, I didn't come here to retire and get some property that's reasonable. I've been struggling with this property to make it feasible since I was old enough to own it. All I'm asking is when the planning commissions and the different commissions get together, get somebody and talk to somebody from the area you're working in. Higginsonville, Pigeon Point, Northwest Quadrant, where make sure they are included. And that's my only request, is that you please, future reasoning, consider the folks that are already here. Safety comes when everybody's comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Good. Also, Kurt, if you wouldn't mind, get her contact information, and I think maybe we have a special committee for the Northwest Quadrant, and it would be good to hear maybe her come and speak at one of our meetings. I think that would be very helpful, if you wouldn't mind, Ms. Good.
That I did this for so long, I just got tired.
Thank you.
Where did she live, on Duke Street?
I didn't get the number.
Good evening, almost. Felice Lamarca, 802 Godfrey Street in Pigeon Point.
Could you say your last name again, please?
Lamarca,
Lamarca.
Lamarca.
Okay.
My husband and I are newbies. We just celebrated our first year anniversary having moved here. And we moved from very far away, 5 bridges from Sea Pines. So I want to address short-term rentals and what they do if you don't have ordinances and rules and policies in place. I lived in my house for 30 years in Sea Pines. So I've seen a lot of changes. We used to have 10% short-term rentals. Then we had 25% short-term rentals. And to address Ms. McFann's statement about retirement, yes. Everyone is coming and buying and saying they're going to retire. How do I know that? I'm in real estate. I sell there. I'm on Hilton Head and mostly Sea Pines. So it's a dream and you don't want to take it away from people. And it is tied to property values. So one has to tread carefully in this sea of short-term rentals. So it's not an easy job, and I commend you for addressing it, and let's address it before we become Sea Pines. I stopped at 25%. It is now almost 50%. That's why we left and we came here. And did I jump from the frying pan to the skillet? I see it. I see what's happening. It's beginning here. So we can't stop growth. That's true. We can control it. Everyone's buzzword is responsible growth, but nobody really gives us a definition as to what that is. Well, I'm going to tell you what that is. Responsible growth does not destroy the neighborhoods, and it does not destroy our communities. So please, I applaud you, involve Ms. Good, and her community involve Pigeon Point and our community. If you have to come out to our communities to hear us, because I was driving from Hilton Head. It took me an hour and a half to get here for this meeting. So there are people who physically can't be here and would like to. So thank you. I think the ordinance needs to be revamped. I think licenses applications are a problem where somebody sells their house and it's an STR and they all go running the day of closing to staff and get the new application in to keep it a short-term rental. That is in no way fair to the neighborhood or anyone else who really would like a short-term rental. So what's wrong with having a waiting list? What's so wrong with that? We have the staff. Sorry, guys. But, we do. Relook at how the application process goes and how it transfers. And then last would be the cap,
I'm sorry, the what?
the cap, the
Oh,
percent.
yeah.
Had Hilton Head done that, you would have more happy people living there. Obviously, it's a resort island, so a 6% cap is not realistic. However, in this community, it is. And I would encourage all of you to try to keep that cap as low as you think is reasonable and stop the ADUs. I live where we're zoned, I can put 2 on there. I don't need 2. I might like 1 for an in-law suite, extra garages, but I don't need a business there. I live there. I'm not investing. I'm not doing this to make money. I'm going to hopefully die there. So the ADU issue is another one that speaks to the community and the neighborhood and short-term rentals. So please hear us, work with us, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lamarca. And to everybody, that we're having this because we know that there are problems with our current ordinance. They were probably put together with the best effort, as you said before, previously, but we're in a different environment and we see the changes that are happening. And so we need to be careful and address the changes. And my wife and my wife's in the back of the room now. She came, and we're going to be downsizing in our next move when we move over to the National Cemetery sometime here. So, and we will not be asking for an ADU on that property.
Thank you. Good evening. Paul Trask, 610 Bladen Street. I have 2 STRs directly across the street from me, and I must admit in 9 years, never once have I had an issue with any of the people. On the most part, they're very friendly and interested in the town, and you strike up a little conversation and so forth. So that's been good. But I'll say this, I still don't like them. I don't like the.
You don't like your neighbors?
No, I like the neighbors fine, but the STR situation is a little bit out of control. We definitely need a cap. There's no question about that. It's not fair to neighborhoods like Royal Oaks and Mossy Oaks, which haven't had a cap. And so a campaign issue, I was walking around with a candidate for city council last fall and doing some campaigning, in about 5 or 6 times when asked, what are your problems? What do you want to see? They brought up the issue of short-term rentals. And these are investor properties. These are not owner occupied properties. So in my view, short-term rentals need to either A, be an ADU on an owner-occupied property, number one. Number two, if you're gonna have, and we do have investor-owned STRs, I don't know if they can be sunset or not legally. That's a legal question that needs to be a part of the conversation. In any case, all STRs need to be subject to a cap. So why does the point? Why are they omitted? I've got friends on the point. I'm probably going to be excommunicated for saying this, but you know, what's good for the goose is generally good for the gander. So I think that in your deliberations, the cap is very important. I think the draft thus far is pretty good. If there's a way to sunset the investor properties, then that's probably a good thing. Let them convert to owner-occupied properties because we have a housing need in this community. So I'm going to speak very quickly also about accessory dwellings because I have a little bit different take. I think accessory dwellings are a vital part, whether they're particularly common in the community or particularly common in a given neighborhood or not. They're a vital part. You know, I've heard city council, I've heard conversations on the planning commission regarding affordable housing. Affordable housing is not in the sprawl that we're seeing in these apartment complexes. Affordable housing for teachers, for firefighters, police officers, even students, is best served by an ADU in my view. And so I want to submit to you that the proposed restriction to one ADU, okay, but keep a second ADU option as a special exception. And you can have certain standards, lot size and capacity, landscaping and buffering, parking availability, utility and infrastructure limits, compatibility with surrounding properties. So it's important to keep the flexibility of having that second ADU, in my view, because they are potentially a very valuable, and they don't promote sprawl as we've seen. So very quickly, the ADUs support housing diversity without dramatically altering the neighborhood character. As you know, they're behind the primary structure. Oftentimes, you don't even see them from the street. They address a range of household needs, aging parents, adult children, live-in caregivers. I'm not going to go on and on about that. I've already mentioned how it addresses workforce and affordable housing shortages. It does help promote, ADUs do help promote financial stability for a property owner. They bring in extra income potentially. They can be financed on a standard 30-year mortgage. You know, you can, I know rates are a little high right now, but you can get a construction loan, you can build an ADU, you could build a second ADU, you can go and get that finance on a standard 30-year fixed rate mortgage. So then you've got the ability to have a long-term rental or a single short-term rental. I don't support having two STRs when you have two ADUs. And I think we've only got two ADUs, maybe once in the city over here in Pigeon Point. That might be the only example that we've got in the city. So they're going to be rare under any circumstances. So I'll just close by saying that I think it aligns with the comp plan for smart growth, and it's a good viable alternative to keep the option open for the ADUs and limit the STRs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trask.
Paul, Mr. Trask,
Yes,
do we
sir.
have a copy of that, of your notes and stuff?
I have written all over this, but I would be happy to email it to Kurt if that's
And you can send
acceptable.
it on to us?
I'll be happy to.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else that would like to speak?
Good afternoon. My name is David Townsend. I live in the 1400 block of Church Street. I'm one lot away from where recently there was a structure changed. The house was bought and redone, little addition and a porch, and 2 ADUs built behind. I've had a long time to think about these because well before the construction started, there was a trench from the street towards the house and behind that had 3 water lines. And it was rather difficult to find out what's going on or what the plans were. But it led to a great deal of thought in once I had learned it was ADUs, and by the way, my property could have 2 also. My next door neighbor could have 2. And the 2 behind us, or the lots behind each of those properties could have 2, thus creating a back alley effect in the whole neighborhood with little structures. The ones that were built just down the street from me actually are very pleasant, handsome little buildings. Anybody with taste would recognize that and appreciate it. But the potential impact this can have on many aforementioned things, traffic, car parking, what have you, is dramatic. It could more than double the population of the entire neighborhood. I can't speak for how much of Pigeon Point is currently in a position to be able to build them, but 2 is rather heavy on 1 lot. And if you were to drive by and take a look at it, you could realize you don't see them too well from the street, but it is rather packed on that lot. And if the adjacent lots wanted to do the same thing, it's just going to load it up and change the complexion of the neighborhood dramatically. I've only been here 7 years, and frankly, every year I like Pigeon Point more. It's wonderful. Great people, eclectic, unique. I admire everything about it, and I see the potential for change. The truth is the dollar dictates what goes on these days. And I think it's going to be quite an incentive for a lot of buyers to look for any house that's for sale and find out, oh, I can put 2 ADUs in. If it's a non-occupant owner, there's no telling what they're going to look like, and there's no telling how well it will be maintained. As often as not, you can walk around and pick out the houses that are rented or portions thereof for non-occupant owners. They don't do the same maintenance. It remains to be seen what will be happen to the 1, 2 doors down from me. In the course of construction, it was not well maintained, I can tell you that. Hopefully it will be, but the potential for change is dramatic. You know, if 2 or 3 houses in the neighborhood, the owners find it's just changed so much, they want to sell it. I imagine you'll find people coming in that want to rent 3 properties right there. None of us have a crystal ball. It's very difficult to look at the whole picture and realize what social changes are and needs and economic changes. They could certainly dictate very good reasons why 1 ADU is perfectly reasonable behind most of these houses. It would fit comfortably and not be a problem. 2 is just too much. And especially if it's off-site owners, they don't care what it looks like. They don't care how it's maintained. They care about making 3 incomes from that piece of property. And I think that's a bit much, and it's too much enticement for them not to want to buy it also. So some deep thought is appreciated, and we all appreciate the time you folks are putting into this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Thank you.
Oh, good.
How you doing? My name's Tom Rubin. I live at 2001 Lafayette, and there are 7 homes that have been brought into my neighborhood, and 2 of them are ADUs with a main building. My question is, I mean, does the commission have the power to put a stop on this, or to, halt further applications or permits from people wanting to add ADUs at this point in time?
No.
do you plan on getting a power like that or?
Our function is really to act as kind of an advisory board to the city council. We do tasks for the city council at their requests, things like reviewing the development code, which is a big thing that we've done for the past year. We are here to recommend certain things to the city council, but as far as I know, we have no authority to stop anybody from doing that kind of thing. We can influence things by recommending to the city council what our development code and what our city ordinances ought to say. And then it would be up to the city council to put those into effect. So it is important that you are here today because it's very important to us to know what people like you think. That's very important. But you also ought to show up at some city council meetings with as many people as you can to let them know what you think as well.
Okay, all right, another issue, I mean, we have a huge flooding problem right now because of these homes being built and the 3 ADUs that are, or the 2 ADUs in the home that are there. To the point to where the other side of our property, we cannot access as of today because of the last 3 days of rain. The silt fencing that they put up, the rain just washed through it, the berms they brought in, the backfill they brought in, you know, because they elevated the property so high, it just runs right across and straight down into the pond, and our lots eroding, our driveways eroding. It's just absolutely insane. And my thought is if you keep building these homes and tearing up all the vegetation, where's all this water gonna go, being that we live in the low country? I got a pond in front of me every time it rains. I got a lake on Lafayette Street, and it's just getting worse because of the rain coming off these roofs. It's nowhere to go. So, I mean, our infrastructure is definitely not geared for this. At least I don't think so, or I'm not aware of anything like that at all. But I mean, something like that should be really taken into consideration when we're looking at all these things. It's like, you know, we do have storms. Where's it gonna go? And the other issue is, you know, the amount of traffic is just insane. We're on an S curve right there. With the 7 homes that have gone in, that's a possibility of maybe 20 cars coming in and out of there. You know, I drive there all the time, and you cut the curb and there's somebody coming out of the driveway, and that's always some kind of maneuver to where you gotta, you know, get by so you don't wreck your car, or it's just a very unfortunate situation, this whole thing. I don't understand why it doesn't have to be owner occupied also. I would think that there's just no way that you can have something like this, especially on our piece of property, to where you have 4 homes in front and now you've got these 3 ADUs in back and our pond that houses gators and everything else like that. If it's not owner occupied, what's to keep these people from just roaming on our property and doing whatever, getting bit? So now I'm responsible for it because this guy or whomever went on our property because it looks cool and the birds are cool and everything else like that, but now they don't have a leg and I'm getting sued. You know, so that's a huge issue too. It's just, I don't know, there's got to be a little bit more responsibility for all this and a little bit more thought as to what's going in, because I mean, right now we've been just living through hell the last 2 years and it's getting worse. Our pond right now has got this green film all over it from the last 3 days of water rushing into it. I stocked the pond. I've got a lot of hours into that pond. Am I going to lose everything because of it? I mean, it's ridiculous. So anyhow, I hope you all do the right thing. I think you will. And really, hopefully you can put a stop to all this. That'd be great.
Thank you. Please, if you don't mind.
Thank you all. My name is Eve Fleming. I think I am maybe the only person here to speak on behalf of short-term rentals. Ms. McFan, I appreciated what you said at the beginning of this, that, you know, there are many people in this community who, I say many, there are people in this community who, like me, have a short-term rental. We've had this house was my husband's, that he bought. It was the first house that he bought as a as a young person in this community. He moved in and bought this house on Burroughs Avenue. I lived in the Old Commons before it was called the Old Commons. We got married and a child and a pregnancy later, the house on the Old Commons was too small for both of us. And so we moved to the Hermitage Road area to 100 Pines. The rental that we have, we sold my house, but we kept my husband's house as an investment property. We rented it through the years, long-term rental. We had our last long-term renter was there for several years, and her children grew up in that house. And they moved, and then she moved, and we took the opportunity. I guess it was 4 years ago now, maybe 3, to renovate that house. My husband did a whole lot of the work on the house. We renovated the house, and we use it as a short-term rental. We live in the 100 Pines neighborhood, so this house is on the edge of our neighborhood. So we're very invested in how it impacts our community. We're very invested in whether we have people who are renting, who are behaving properly, who are parking where they're supposed to, who are taking care of the property when they're there. I walk my dog by it frequently when we have renters, which is most of the time. We drive by it in the evenings at times to make sure that everybody is behaving properly, parking properly. The house is meticulously maintained, actually much better than my own house, frankly, because it's important to us that we impact the community in a good way and not a bad way. I mean, we pay 6% in property taxes. We pay personal property taxes. We pay accommodations fees. So I feel like in that way, we do benefit the community financially. And quite frankly, the income that this short-term rental generates for me is it's incredibly important to my financial stability and to any retirement that I might be able to accumulate. I think that while I understand what everybody here has said, and I understand their concerns about proliferation of short-term rentals and ADUs, but I think that it's also important to recognize that a lot of us have invested our money, our time into what to me is a business. This one house is a business to me, and it's important to my income. And we've put a lot of time and effort into making it something that is attractive in the community, that is not a burden to the community, but that also provides stability and some financial income to me without downsides of pollution or excessive traffic or things like that. So I do think there are upsides to short-term rentals. I think you can have a short-term rental without having the downsides that the people who have stood up here have talked about. I attended, and I don't know what's in the planning document that Mr. Trask has presented to y'all. I didn't even know that one of those existed. I sure would like to see it. But what I would hope is that what steps y'all take that you don't make it so restrictive that those of us who just have a short-term rental that we are very carefully monitoring, that we don't lose that. I can tell you that if I lost that as a source of income, it would be incredibly detrimental to me. And I would just ask that y'all consider that in determining how you're going to proceed, because I know that I can't be the only person in Beaufort, South Carolina, that has a short-term rental that maintains it very meticulously. And yes, it is a business, but we care how it impacts the community. And I would venture to say that you will not find anybody who says that our short-term rental negatively impacts this community. And so I would ask you to consider us as well as the people who have stood up and spoken.
Thank you, Ms. Fleming.
May I ask a question? So you live in the same neighborhood as your short-term rental, is that, did I hear correct?
I do, yes. I'm in the I live on South Hermitage, and our rental is on Burroughs, right off of Depot. So yeah, right on I would consider
You could
it.
walk to it.
Oh,
basically, yeah.
absolutely, yes, yes.
And Ms. Fleming, just to clarify, there is no particular ordinance before us as the Planning Commission right now. Mr. Trask formerly was on the Planning Commission. We definitely appreciate his service, but anything that he would submit is in the nature of a proposal from a citizen, and there's nothing official in front of us at all right now. So
Oh, well,
don't
that's
worry
good to
about
know.
that.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anybody else that would like to speak? Certainly, you're more than welcome to come up.
Hi, how are you? I'm Jill Rubin. I live at 2001 Lafayette, where the compound is for sale.
Your last name again?
Rubin?
Ruben, thank you.
Yes. I want to agree with pretty much everything that's been said today, and I do believe in short-term rentals can be a good thing. I just think they need to be taken into consideration that the neighbors around them, like she said, she considers it a business. I am living next door to potentially a business. I have a main home and 2 ADUs that were built next to me. I would like the planning commission to consider only allowing one short-term rental per parcel. I understand that one is fair. I don't think I want to live next door to 2 short-term or 3 short-term. I do believe it should be owner occupied. And I do believe that it should be non-transferable, or there should be a waiting period. I do think that there's room for improvement. I think I'm living a nightmare, and I hope it doesn't happen to other people. Saying that an ADU can be treated as a house and a 30-year mortgage can be used to build it, to me, that's another red flag. I mean, this is supposed to be a granny loft or an additional storage unit. It shouldn't be viewed as a house. If it would, how come it doesn't have to pass codes the same way a single dwelling unit does? I looked up, how could 3 houses be built so close to the marsh and so close to wetlands? Well, it's not viewed as 3 houses. It's viewed as 1 house with 2 ADUs. So the permits and everything, they didn't have to call DHEC. They didn't have to jump through certain hoops because it's only 1 house. And that's not true. It's 3 homes. So there's some consideration, I think, that needs to be looked at when we even allow this to be built and where it's built and what's going to happen with it. Maybe that should be questioned before the permits are issued. I just think the neighbors have a right to know what's going on and what's being built next to them. But I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rubin.
Good evening. My name is Julie Matthews, and currently I live in my Airbnb at 2602 North Street. You're not alone, Ms. Fleming. I would venture to say that just about any short-term rental is going to far surpass the curb appeal and the maintenance than any long-term rental. It's number one. Number two, I agree that it is part of the retirement plan. My heart goes out to those that are dealing with the ADU situations, the multiple ADU situations. That I can't fathom. But on to another note, you're the Planning Commission. Something's got to be done about the amount of apartments that are being built here. Thousands of apartments are going up, and the infrastructure is not being taken into consideration. What's going to happen when I have a house over on Ladies Island that's currently on the market, and I've come before the city council before. What is going to happen when a Cat 5 hurricane comes and the people on the islands have to get off and the Rebo Bridge is out of order? Something's got to be done about the infrastructure before this out of control building with apartments. And I don't know where those people are coming from. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Joe Mack, 1809 Boundary Street. MAC Mac. I moved here before the waterfront was built. I moved to Boundary Street and then I stayed there 2 weeks and moved somewhere else close to Beaufort. And then I actually moved into the city right next door in around 1980, 1981, South Beaufort. I didn't plan to speak, but there's more woods in Higginsonville. So the gentleman spoke about Lafayette, where it turns from north-south to east-west, that 90-degree turn, as he referred to it as an S-curve. So, you know, people ride their bikes around there, they jog. I've done the same thing on that street. So I saw they put in the 4 houses, and then I thought that was it. I wasn't really following it. I'm sure these people are following it. They right behind it. That's their house. So then it was, I was utterly amazed that they started building houses in the back, and I didn't know they were ADUs. I just now learned they were ADUs just sitting here now. So now those houses are too close together. It's disrespect to the neighbors. If you lived across the street, you would be furious if that went in front of your house. So there is more woods in Higginsville. Do not allow them to do that again. So I don't know how you do that. You got to twist the rules or do whatever. That is an eyesore. That does not fit into the character of that neighborhood. You can go there, if you haven't seen it, go down there and look at it. How they were allowed to do that, that is amazing. And then somebody mentioned that, maybe they were talking about Pigeon Point, that there's only one house with 2 ADUs. Well, this is another one, because he just said he just told me it's one house with 2 ADUs. And evidently there's 3 houses in the back and there's 4 in the front. I wasn't really following that issue. You know, there's yeah, so I can go way back. There probably wasn't even the term short-term rental when I was growing up in Beaufort. And Lafayette Street, yeah, I was a teenager once. There was drugs all up and down Lafayette. It was a heck of a place, put it that way. But it's a very nice place. I've got a business in Higginsonville. And I spend my recreation.
That was me tapping the
Testing
mic.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, that was me bumping the microphone. I apologize.
Yeah, so a lot of people like to recreate and go around Pigeon Point, Higginsville, because it's pretty, but when they put this in, it's ugly. Please do something. Don't let them do it again. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe, ma'am. Does anybody else like to speak?
And Mr. Mack, to your point, I have actually been down to that spot on Lafayette Street twice.
I'll close this.
Matter of fact, before they put in the 4 houses, the house
to the left of the four houses, which was originally there, a different piece. That house looked like, and it had plenty of room around it, but that was kind of semi just did not fit into the neighborhood. And that had space around it. The one they put in the four, they might as well just attach them to each other.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and
Sorry about
close
that.
this public session then. Thank you so much, everybody, for giving us your thoughts. We will definitely be taking those into consideration. And I know that we're gonna have a lot of long deliberations, because we're all gonna have to, figure out what is the best, code for this community, for us to follow in the coming years. Obviously, the one that we have right now is not working very well. So we will endeavor to try and do that. And then we will take and put that code in front of the city council. And you'll all have a chance to review that code and make your comments known once we have that in place. So again, thank you so much.
Mr. Tomey, did we check about online?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
There are a few,
There are a
people-
few.
no, sorry, there are a few people in the Zoom, but none of them have raised their hands.
Okay. Well, then we're still closed for public session. So I thank you very much. And I think the board needs to make a decision about a date for our next work session before we leave. I believe at the last work session, we were saying that we were going to do that tonight.
I think we talked about doing it on the first Monday. Was that what we just, Christopher, what did we say?
I believe we talked about September the 2nd, the first Tuesday, and October 7th.
And does that conflict with, is our city council meetings the same day?
No, because they're on the first, city council is on the second Tuesday. So you're on the first, so yeah.
So we were talking about trying to schedule our work sessions on a monthly basis until we decide not to. Is that correct? Okay, so we're talking about doing it the first Tuesday of each month. Is that what you're saying? What is it? Any comments from the board on that?
Are these work sessions, Mike?
I wasn't there, obviously, yeah, but I think you scheduled it Tuesday because the Monday's Labor Day. However, if you schedule on the Tuesday, the planning commission room that you're having them right now would not be available. So that's something to think about.
Chairman, the Waterfront Commission committee meets at 5 o'clock on the 2nd.
Yeah, I think we decided,
Or 1 o'clock for a work session.
because I think Mondays probably worked better because of some of those other meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
why-
Mondays definitely work better for the room. That's your,
I'm
Oh.
sorry, you said what?
the room that you hold it in, the
Yes.
planning commission room downstairs that, city council has their work sessions in. And you've been doing yours in, wouldn't be available on that Tuesday, just so you know. On Tuesdays, it would be available on Mondays, but not Tuesdays. So just so you know,
Why was Monday a problem, Christopher?
it's Labor Day.
Oh, it's Labor Day in September.
Yeah,
Yeah, the first Monday of September is Labor Day.
But we could schedule the regular meetings for the first Monday of each month with
Yeah,
that
you
exception.
can, with that exception. So if you want to do the following Monday of, I guess, the 8th, would that be right? You could.
But that would have city council in there for a work session at 5 o'clock.
No, that would be on Tuesday. So if you.
Oh,
schedule it
on Monday, okay. I'm
But if
sorry.
you have it on Tuesday, yes, you would not have that room because they're going to be using that room and it just wouldn't be available. So,
Well, I guess what I propose is let's go ahead and schedule our regular monthly work sessions in for the first Monday of each month. And for the upcoming one in September, we'll put that on Monday, September 8th. Is that correct?
that would be fine if that's up to you. If that's, I mean,
Does that
it
work?
works for all.
That
of
works
us.
fine for me.
Works
Okay.
fine.
That works for me.
So we'll do
September 8th.
September 8th for that work
that's the
session.
work session, right?
The work session, yes.
Do you want to start at 1 o'clock? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, one's fine. Is everybody else?
1 PM is fine.
That works.
Okay.
So that'll be the first Monday at 1 o'clock.
Yes, first Monday of each month, 1 o'clock, except for the September meeting. And that will be Monday, the 8th. Is that okay? Good. Okay. Any other unfinished business, Kurt, that we need to cover?
No.
I'll take a motion for adjournment.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned. Thank you.